All right, recording has started. Now I'm going to share my screen. This is so exciting. If I start getting a little loopy, Glenn, take over. All right, so once everybody can start seeing my screen, let me know.
The screen request came up, then oh, here it is. It's come up now. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, excellent. All right, well, hello, everybody. Here's today's agenda for our meeting. I'm just going to say I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I figured we'll go ahead and go around and start with introductions. And while I'm still awake, if you hear snoring, my apologies. But I'll go ahead and begin the introductions. My name is Kathy Marshall. I have been with a combination of Millward Brown and Kantar for working on, I think, 9 years. So I've been here a while. I have been supporting HR for the majority of my tenure with both Millward Brown and Kantar, most recently in Kantar IT. I was part of the team that actually launched Cornerstone for Millward Brown 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago to the day. I know, Renata, your anniversary is coming up, right? Let's see, what else? What else could I tell about myself? Previous experience? Well, my experience started with Cornerstone. Because I'm from the IT department, I've supported many different, applications throughout the company. And so Cornerstone was my first experience. And I am currently the global administrator for Cornerstone. We're going to change that and add a few more. Because right now we're supporting about 5,500 users, and obviously that will be going up substantially. Glenn, do you want to go next?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Glenn, and I've been with the Kantar Group now since 2012. January 2012 I started, and working initially with Millward Brown and part of the Cornerstone project with Kathy and Renata. And as part of the HR for the Future structure and the COE structure, you probably would have remembered in the structure there was a technology role that Ian had placed in there. And at this point in time, there's no incumbent in that role. And I agreed with Ian that I would support that position until we find a person to fill that role. Hence, that's why I'm here, because as you know, in the new HR for the Future model, I'm the head of talent management. But I've got this extra piece of work, which is the technology piece. And the technology piece, naturally, is managing Cornerstone, as well as Grassroots, as well as some other platforms. So that's why I'm involved. And my previous LMS experience, as I shared before, I've had involvement with the Cornerstone platform, but I've also worked on Success Factors, which is another HRA system and includes learning in there. And I've had also access to some other platforms which were proprietary built in other companies. So I've got a history of experiences with LMSs from my past life. So that's me.
Renata, would you like to take on the next one?
Hello there, my name is Renata McDermott, and it is 9:09 p.m. and I'm feeling a little bit silly right now. I have been originally employed to Millward Brown as Global Talent Development Coordinator, and a large part of my role was to work on the Cornerstone implementation, working with Kathy and Glenn. I was the system administrator for Cornerstone and had a key role in ensuring that our regional support structure was in place across Millward Brown to support the deployment of various different learning initiatives on the platform. I also was involved in e-learning program management or project management and testing of e-learning and other content on the platform. And I've had 3.5 years experience in system configuration in the back end, working very closely with Kathy on a number of projects, not just related to learning platform, but implementation of performance and succession clouds in the system as well. So that's a bit about me and my experience.
Excellent. Thank you. Penny, would you like to go next?
Yes, sure. So my name's Penny Bricky, and I joined the new structure with Kantar in July last year as part of the COE, and I'm reporting into Anne-Marie, helping to manage the global programs and coordinate all the efforts of our lovely global deployment teams around the world. I have not such great knowledge as the rest of the team here in working with learning management systems, and the only real experience that I have is that I worked in a previous role with TNS, for whom I worked for quite a good number of years, developing an app, an in-house app that we made to actually track our accreditation program. The accreditation program was actually training on our business solutions, and that was something that I worked on for many years, delivering something called TNS University, which was a modular week-long training program in the methodologies and products for our practice areas. So that's me. I'm coming at it with sort of fresh eyes. Cornerstone, I haven't really worked on anything of such dimension before, but I'm sort of like to get an overview so that I can share the information with the rest of our team.
Excellent. Thanks, Penny. Chloe?
Hi, I'm Chloe Gardoni. I've worked for the group for many years, more than I can now remember, but my role now is the Global Learning Consultant for Kantar Media. A lot of my career was as an HR business partner, always with a learning and development angle to it, but now 100% in the COE, which I'm delighted about. I have limited experience with LMS systems. Previously in Kantar Media, we used the Kantar Connect training module to record training, which was a lot better than using Excel spreadsheets, but did have its limitations. I do have a particular interest in this project because one of our large business units in Latin America, Kantar Ibope Media, have spent the last 2 years negotiating with Cornerstone. So they had been planning for some time to be using Cornerstone and to roll out training for their business. So they're very keen to move things forward. Things have been put on hold a bit whilst we try and bring the work they're doing into the work that we're doing at Kantar. So that's sort of be in a way the liaison between those two. And I think, Kathy, you've been working with them in Ibope on that.
Yes, I've had a couple of meetings with Maria with regards to getting them at least access to our pilot to get familiar with it.
Great. Yeah, so I'm also very excited to hear more about it and to be able to kick this project off.
Great. Awesome. All right. Helene?
Sorry, just taking myself off mute. Hi, everybody. So I'm Helene. I am coming up to my 2-year anniversary with the Kantar Group. I joined Kantar Health back in January 2015. Always in a learning consultant role. And now kind of switched faces, and I'm sort of learning consultant within Kantar, but Kantar Health is still my client, so in lots of ways a continuation for me in terms of my role. In terms of LMS experience, I've never worked with a pure LMS before. I've worked with a number of e-learning platforms, Skillsoft being probably the most consistent one in various organizations, which does have a very small LMS element to it. And in my last organisation, I was responsible for the implementation of the Lumes platform, which we used for managing performance management and absence management. And then we were starting to build towards using the training module within that at the time that I was leaving. So I've had some exposure to kind of training management within a platform, but not a pure LMS like Cornerstone. So I'm very excited. We have nothing like that within Kantar Health, and being able to track learning and development activity for us will be, hugely beneficial. So I'm very excited to be part of this project.
Excellent. Yes, Millward Brown actually did have Skillsoft as well, just for North America, but we used Skillsoft as well. All right, well, thanks. Cindy?
Hi. Hi, I'm Cindy Yo, and I've been with Kantar Group for 5 years plus, previously with Millward Brown, and since last year moved to COE, Learning and Leadership teams. I am assigned to Insights, Kantar Insights in Asia is my client. I help them to look after their learning initiatives. So my experience exposure to Cornerstone has been limited as an end user. So I'm excited to be in the project to learn more about the systems. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. All right. I'm trying to see. I think there was 2 people we're still waiting on. Anne-Marie, have you joined yet? Let me take a quick go back to our call real quick. Let me see.
Anne-Marie's not joining the call.
Oh, okay. And then Palo, I think that was last. I don't see that joined yet. Okay, we'll continue on. All right, let me move over to our demo. We're going to jump in here. Everyone can see the welcome screen for what we used to refer to as LearningWorks. That was our Millward Brown branded version of Cornerstone. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Great. Okay, so this is in use today. Just so everybody knows, we haven't turned off the Millward Brown version of Cornerstone. It was, like I said, branded LearningWorks. I did go ahead and throw the Kantar logo in there. It used to say Millward Brown. Because there is trainings going on as we speak. Some compliance trainings that are usually due at the beginning of the year. I'm working with the client management team. They have a e-learning course that they are hoping we can get published and out to a group of users. So this is our current welcome screen. As you can see, there are links here with regards to your profile, your learning. You have action plans. As a global administrator, I have a lot more up here that I have access to. I think I skipped one of the subjects. I was going to go into the history of it. So again, apologize. I'm going to pull up that 4 a.m. Waking up at 4 a.m. card here. So let me give you a quick little history of how we came to Cornerstone when we were with Millward Brown. When the budget was approved to purchase a learning management system, there was a extensive search of a learning management system done by Millward Brown. It actually took place about 3 months before I was joining this project. But there was a very extensive search to make sure that a learning management system was selected that truly met all of the requirements and needs of Millward Brown. And Cornerstone was the one selected. It is one of the top learning management systems as determined by Gartner. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the quadrant. It is a tool when selecting software, and this one actually met some of the highest qualities of learning management systems. So it's good to know that we're using one of the industry leading learning management systems. In fact, as WPP has matured with regards to helping all of the different operating companies select software, this is one of the preferred providers. So even WPP recognizes Cornerstone as one of the top providers of learning management systems, and this system is top notch. I've worked with, being previously in IT, and just to I failed to mention that I'm now working for Glenn Carter. So I was in IT and now I'm part of the HR team under Glenn. This tool is a really wonderful application. Just the way it's managed by Cornerstone. There are quarterly rollouts of new enhancements that are done seamlessly, and it is just a wonderful application to work with. What we're looking at here is what we refer to as our pilot. It is not the live version. So one of the things I'm going to make sure of is I'm going to make sure everybody on this call is given access to the pilot, so you can go around and play around in it, and you won't have to worry about necessarily doing anything wrong with the system. I know, Cindy, you're kind of ahead of the curve because, yes, you were an end user of it, but I'm going to give everybody a little more access than just the typical end user. But you can go in and play around with it. Again, one of the wonderful things about it is obviously the ability to track people's history and their transcript of the system, which is key. I know that Penny, working for TNS, and I know you had your TNS University, I think that might have been some of the challenges, is not having this kind of history where you can go back and see, everyone's, completed courseware.
That's right, yes.
So yeah, this is, and obviously lots of reporting, the ability to pinpoint training. If you're looking to provide users training in a particular region or particular scale, or maybe just managers, all of that data is captured here. We have a data feed that runs nightly from Kantar Connect to Cornerstone. So when a new employee is hired, it will they'll be added to the system automatically. They'll receive a welcome email welcoming them to LearningWorks. There is compliance training in here, so we can keep track of the required yearly compliance training. Renata, jump in at any time if I'm missing anything with regards
Kathy?
Yes.
Kathy, it's Chloe here. The compliance training, is that the same as the WPP compliance training, anti-bribery and corruption, or something different?
It is. It was one that Millward Brown had created. It's information risk management training.
Right. Okay. Okay, thanks. So, and just maybe I'm going off at a tangent, but if you think about the WPP training,
right,
could people do that on Cornerstone, or do they have to still go into the WPP site to do that?
Yeah, that's unfortunately still managed through WPP.
Right. Okay.
But as this system matures, I'm hoping that maybe we can eventually partner with WPP, where we can at least start recording that they've completed
it.
If that might, we'll see how that goes in the future.
Okay. Because
I know that is something that would be nice to have a single source to know of what everyone's training has been completed.
Yeah.
So, but at this time, no, we weren't able to do that when we were using Mrs. Miller Brown. So,
okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And of course, anybody that has questions, by all means, this is an open communication. Everybody jump in and, you know what, Tony, I forgot to introduce you. I apologize. I was just sitting there thinking I failed. So again, 4 a.m. card. So,
I didn't feel a lot of love coming from you, Kathy.
oh, sorry. Better late than never.
It's okay, I forgive you. You can carry on.
Thank you. Do you want to do a quick intro just so everyone knows who you are?
By all means, yes. Hello, everybody. This is Tony Garcia. I'm your your IT business partner. And I have joined Kantar in October. And Glenn is perhaps going to be glad to know that HRIS is my area of expertise, not only when it comes to LMS, but also many other aspects of the HR technology servicing or providing an input to the different centers of excellence. So my role is to look after the HR technology portfolio across all centers of excellence, and by that I mean reward and global operations and payroll and global mobility, and of course talent acquisition and yourselves. What is interesting to me about today's session is to support, from an IT perspective, the global expansion of Cornerstone, and of course, perhaps the dependencies that we might need to look into as that expansion takes place. So, for instance, the element of data cleanse, how the application or Cornerstone is going to be supported, any enhancements that you might wish to perform at global or local level to the functionality, and so on and so forth.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. My apologies. Tony's going to be a great partner for our project, so he'll definitely be key to our success as well. So I just wanted to jump into kind of what the end user screen looks like with regards to the data that is captured about each employee, with regards to hire dates and time zones, all of their location information, the division, their title, their scale, the brands, function, all of this information that obviously is found within Kantar Connect is pulled over. So when it comes to not only reporting but also actually generating the training, we can pinpoint users, even down to gender, because I know there's a big push on diversity with Kantar. So there's a lot of great opportunity with the data that we have in Cornerstone, and making sure that we select the data that's in a training that's necessary for each of our users, our end users. Renata, what else can you add here that maybe I missed?
I think you're doing a pretty good job there, Kathy.
Well, thank you. Obviously, the reporting, there's some great reporting. There's custom reports that I probably use more even than the standard reports. There's instructor-led training. So it is hooked up with our WebEx application, our current contract with WebEx, so we can actually hold instructor-led training. So it's not just e-learnings. There's also, the ability to do more live trainings. And I think that's about it in a nutshell.
Kathy, sorry, it's Chloe again. Sure. When you talk about WebEx,
yes.
I've tried to roll out some WebExes recently, and we've found that we've been limited in terms of the interaction that we can use because of our WebEx license. Is there a different license that you've got attached to this? There's a training WebEx license that you can get, I think. Does that make sense?
Yes, I know that there's different somewhat flavors, I guess, of WebEx, whether it's
Yes.
a training or meeting, and each one does limit to the number of participants.
Yeah.
And Renata, do you know off the top of your head? Because I know you've set up instructor-led trainings, correct?
Yeah, I think the limit has been about 400.
Okay.
400 participants at a time, and if it goes beyond that, then we've had to look at running those running those programs in a different way. But certainly historically, Europe and North America were the regions that really played with the functionality and the opportunity, and with some success. So yeah, we know it works. And if assuming that you're going to be doing less than 400 people, I think that's perfectly possible.
Great. And does it have all the functionality then? Because I found that we couldn't use the annotation tool, for example, with the numbers of people that we had on the call. Maybe that's a question to take outside and follow up on.
Yeah, I think that might be
I know
something
that
for
I
us to double check on.
participated, yeah, because I'm in North America, I actually participated in a couple of these instructor-led trainings. And all the functionality was there with regards to us being able to raise our hand, and there was actually like quizzes, like the person that was holding it, it would ask a survey question that we all had to answer, and then the results would appear. So is that what you're talking about with regards to the functionality?
Well, there was one other thing where you could get people. We wanted to get people to show where they were on a map, and when we tested it with a small number, it worked. But then when we had only there were sort of 40 or 50 people, and this particular functionality didn't work with those numbers.
Well, I'm going to write down that you are going to be in charge of testing that piece of it when we launch. So. Thank you for volunteering.
Right, I'm not asking any more questions.
But that's definitely something to make sure that. Well, yeah, definitely, it's definitely a good question. And of course, there has always been concern for me as we have moved to Skype. Is WebEx going away? Because obviously Skype for Business, which is what obviously we're all on, unless some of you are still using Link. That was one of my concerns. Is we still need to have the WebEx application for instructor-led training. So there hasn't been any future word with regards to sunsetting or retiring WebEx. So, but it's definitely a question I'll make sure to ask, and even Tony as our IT liaison, he would, if I don't know if maybe you could confirm that WebEx is definitely something that isn't going away in the future. Alrighty. Any other questions? All right, we will move on. And again, like I said, I will make sure to give everybody access to our pilot version that everyone will get to play with. And what you see today, everything you see here is probably going away. This, again, was built for Millward Brown. It's definitely served its purpose for Millward Brown, but we want to completely, rebrand it. Give it somewhat a new look and feel, a different user interface, maybe changing up, graphics and colors and who knows what else. But that will all be part of our project and kind of redesigning the whole application to meet the needs of Kantar. All right. So,
Kathy,
yes.
Kathy, just one more add. I just thought of the fact that we the languages that we have available. Do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. This application does come in multiple languages, and I know that there is here. I just wanted to pull up. This is where a user would go in and update this themselves. As you can see, Chinese, French, German, Korean, Portuguese, and Spanish. And I believe those are the same languages we plan to continue using. Again, this was part of the Millward Brown contract. Glenn, those languages are the same languages that we plan to keep for the future contract, correct?
So part of the negotiation will be to explore, obviously with this project team, to explore what languages we need for the future. And we are very open to expanding the number of languages. So if you feel that your brand needs a specific language, so for example Russian or something like that, we would be open to buying more languages. I know a lot of the languages here would be applicable Kantar-wide, so we would maintain those, but we are certainly open to building on that as well.
Alrighty, and Glenn, while you have the floor, I'm going to ask you if you could speak to the next topic, which is what's next.
Okay. I'll just, I know Ian hasn't joined us as yet, but I'll just steal a part of his limelight and just quickly just talk about Cornerstone and how we're going to position it in the Kantar world. So in many ways, Cornerstone is our interface to our end users, to our clients. So when we speak about our COE, our Learning and Leadership COE, you know, we won't directly interface with the 28,000 employees out there or to your respective brands, but this platform will interface to those people for us. And I see Cornerstone as being a one-stop shop when it comes to learning and leadership. And Kathy spoke to, you know, the e-learning programs that are available in Cornerstone. She spoke to the WebEx opportunities that you have in Cornerstone. But we also use Cornerstone to publish all our learning programs. So that's workshops, classroom training programs, videos that we might want to upload. We see this as a repository for all learning interventions and initiatives Kantar-wide. And one of the big advantages of that is when someone joins Kantar and we speak about the learning opportunities that exist in the company, if you think about it in the present day context, it's hard to find what learning opportunities do exist today. Learning is scattered in all sorts of places. It could be in the intranet somewhere, it could be held in SharePoint sites, it could be held in WPP sites, it could be held in a Kantar site, it could be held within a brand intranet site. It's peppered throughout the company. So unless you've been with the company for some time, it's always challenging to find what learning opportunities are available to me today in my role. And this is where I see one of the significant advantages of Cornerstone for us is that we'll be able to centralize all of our learning interventions in one place and broadcast that to all people across the company. Now, we have to make a decision, of course, on whether we want to provide a full listing of all the programs to everyone, or whether we want to set up different talent pools that will have a more specific listing. And that'll be part of our conversation when we come together in our workshop. But you know, the good thing about Cornerstone is that you can upload all types of learning into this platform, and it can be published to different groups or Kantar-wide. The other aspect of Cornerstone, which is going to be really important for us, given that we are now operating as a centre of expertise, it's the administration or the coordination aspects of managing training. So, for example, if you wanted to, you know, run a there's a bit of noise in the background.
Yeah, I'm not sure if everyone knows you can mute yourself. Yep. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So the other part of Cornerstone, which is really important for us and our success, is the ability to channel all the training coordination through the platform. So once you have published a program, you can then either broadcast that program to people to self-register. Those people could register through recommendation from their line manager, or they could be assigned to a program through other means or through the COE or the brand. But then the platform can handle confirmation of participants. It can handle the venue, distributing the venue information, the facilitator information. It provides an opportunity for the facilitator to reach out directly to participants and delegates prior to the program. It also facilitates the prerequisite or the pre-learning that needs to be executed prior to attending a program. It will execute the survey after the program in terms of how effective the learning was. If the program is broken up into different modules where you are required to go through a curriculum, the platform can manage the full curriculum. So, and that could be a hybrid or a blended solution of online resources, instructor-led interventions, and other learning activities. So there's apart from the opportunity to deploy e-learning programs through the platform, there is a significant administration benefit for us using this platform, and there's also a significant benefit for giving visibility of everything we have to offer to our people across the globe through the platform. So some great opportunities for us to really position ourselves as a effective learning organisation using the platform not only to facilitate the delivery of learning but also to promote and to share learning opportunities. And to Kathy's point, Cornerstone is changing regularly, and as new learning methodologies come along, Cornerstone will evolve, and it will in the future facilitate other learning interventions. For example, today mobile learning is very, very popular. So people don't just want to learn on a PC, they may want to learn on their mobile device. And there's no reason why a person couldn't access Cornerstone via their mobile device while traveling and commuting to and from work, for example. Or if they were choosing to get out of the office and escape the noise of the office, they could use a mobile device to access the learning somewhere else. One other aspect is because the platform is going to be held outside of our firewall, you can easily access Cornerstone inside the firewall or outside the firewall. In other words, you can access it from home or wherever you are at any time. So lots of potential here in terms of what we want to do with Cornerstone, and we can speak to a lot more of other things that this can do as well. But I'll just pause here and ask if there's any questions about how Cornerstone is going to be utilised within Canto.
Glenn, it's Penny here, and
Yes.
It may be premature, but something that I just came to mind as you were talking about the ability of Cornerstone to actually take care of the administration side of it and the registration, etc. Where we have limited resources, or rather limited places on some of the face-to-face trainings, for example, how would Cornerstone manage that, where we actually have to rank or select people on a set of criteria because the numbers are too great? We have to limit the numbers.
Of course. So there's different types of registrations. So as I mentioned before, you can have self-registration where you could just publish programs openly to all people. You could have programs that are recommended and deployed through the line manager. Or you could have, in the case of programs where there's limited seats or limited numbers of programs, what we would do there is, Renata, what's the terminology we use for Cornerstone when it's...
Waitlist. There's a waitlist functionality?
No, I was thinking about how you select the delegates and not have it as self-registration. What do you call that again?
Okay, that's managed purely by the administrator. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
But there is a waitlist functionality that there is capability for waitlist management that could be engaged as well.
So I think.
And Penny, are you also referring to maybe just like mentoring? Like if you're spending, you know, if you have a new hire and that person is then given a mentor for the first, you know, few months, is that also what you're referring to?
No, I wasn't, but that's
okay.
another good aspect. But actually, what I was really thinking of was where seats are limited, and so you don't actually want the individual's expectations to be raised in advance of the approval actually being given for them to be registered on a particular course where seats are limited and also business development issues have to be taken into account before they're actually assigned to a course.
Of course. So in those situations, what we would do is the administrator would pre-assign the delegates to the program, and it would not be an open registration. That would be the way it would be managed.
There is a way around it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. And if I could just add that when there is the way that registrations work, if you're managing that as an administrator, you can actually sit in a pending state until you make those decisions about who will attend, and you can go through and approve those and have that appear on the person's transcript once those decisions have been made and communicated.
Okay, perfect. So it's actually sort of, there's a confidential area without the actual individual being aware of their nomination for a course.
So the other,
yes, that's right.
The other, when we're just speaking about this in terms of demand, Cornerstone can also manage interest in programs. So, for example, we could actually publish a program to test the level of interest of the program in a specific area or globally or regionally. So it's another way of assessing whether there's a need there for a specific program, or whether it's just, you know, someone asking for something that there's no greater need behind that request. So it has that flexibility to also test the demand of programs prior to setting up a course. Yeah. Okay, so let's move back to the agenda, Kathy, if you don't mind. So if there's no further questions, obviously there's a lot to learn when it comes to Cornerstone. It's not possible to cover all the features in one sitting, and when we come together later on, we'll have a demonstration, a more in-depth demonstration from Cornerstone themselves, and that will open your eyes to other things that we can do and give us a good discussion points, some very good discussion points for our workshop. So what's next? So let me explain where we are on the journey. So as Kathy mentioned at the beginning, we have two contracts in place at the moment. One contract is with Millward Brown, and that's for 6,500 users. And one contract is with Ibope, and that's for 3,000 users. So collectively, we've got 9,500 licenses that we have today that we can... Oh, Ian's just joined our call. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late, conflicting call, but glad to be on.
Thank you. Ian, we've just sort of given a very quick wrap on Cornerstone and how it's going to be positioned in Kantar, and we're going to ask you to add a few words. Did you want to say anything? I know you haven't heard what I've said, but did you want to say anything about how you see Cornerstone being positioned in Kantar? And it might be just a 90-second comment.
Sure, happy to. Hi, everyone. I guess a couple of things from me. When you think about this platform, when you think about what we're trying to do, I think it supports us in a couple of ways. It supports the COE, it supports HR, it supports the employee, and it supports Kantar. I think, quite frankly, it is the way that it will bring our COE to life. When you think about a common way of working, how we scale up, how we be efficient in what we do, and how we have, common policies and processes and ways of working through that in an optimal a way as possible, with teams that are, working cross-country, cross-brand, etc. So I think the implications for our COE are huge. In fact, I worry without this how we make that happen. So for me, it's one of the most critical things. I think for HR to start to get a view on how they can leverage learning better. I mean, this really allows us to break down barriers across brands, across geographies, about content, about learning, about insight and information that we can share across all of those places. And then I think for Kantar, similar to the COE, with it being global, etc., but Kantar first, no longer are we thinking, well, we are thinking about brand specific, but we're thinking about broad things that's to develop our people holistically. So our manager training, our leadership training, new insights on digital and things, in a world where all of this should be easily accessible, this really is the way that we're going to bring this to life. So for me, I'm hugely excited about being able to take this platform and make it global. And whilst it's, going to take some work to get there, I think we're certainly off to a good start, knowing that we have it in one of the brands, we have the interfaces in place, and so we've just got to make sure we've got an optimal plan to do that, and then deliver a really great employee experience with our new infrastructure and our new content as that grows and develops too. So let me shut up and let you carry on, but I hope that helps.
That was really, really good, and thank you so much. I didn't touch on any of those topics, so you've brought it to life even more.
Good.
I think one of the things I just want to just expand on in what you shared is, for me, one of the things that stands out is that there's a consistency of experience for every employee in the company. And if a person who joins, Insights one day, then moves to consultancy the next, that experience moves with them. So there's another. So as you move from one brand to another, or one part of the company to another part of the company, the learning experience remains the same. So they know where to go to learn, they know what to do, what the experience is. So I think that's very positive. Today, as you move from brand to brand, from one role to another role, the experiences change dramatically. And from one geography to another geography, the experiences change dramatically. Cornerstone provides us the opportunity to make it a consistent experience, user experience for all Kantar people worldwide. I think that's very powerful for us. Okay, so what's next? So we're in the process right now of negotiating with Cornerstone. As I shared with you, we have 9,500 user licenses today, and in our company today we have 28,115 people. So we're a few licenses short of providing access to everyone. So I'm working with Liz Patterson. She's the Director of Procurement, and we've got a meeting with Cornerstone on Monday. Tomorrow, Liz and I are just finalising our strategy of how we're going to present what we want to do to Cornerstone and do with Cornerstone. And I expect there will be a week or two of conversations going back and forth until we get to an agreed outcome. But the goal is to have 29,000 licenses available soon. And after that's been approved, the way that's going to be signed off is that some of the budget's going to be maintained within the IT area, and some of the budget will be maintained within the COE. So it's a split budget between two parts of our business. So I should be able to announce the good news to this team in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. Once we have an agreement on the in terms of having this Kantar-wide agreement and having 29,000 licenses available, we then move into what we call the implementation or configuration phase of the project, which is where we need your support. Cornerstone is a highly richly featured program. It has many, many different elements of configuration. The structure can be changed, the labeling can be changed. Just the notifications alone in Cornerstone, there are 300 email notifications that are available in Cornerstone. Actually, there are over 300 notifications. So many things need to be configured prior to launching the system. Today we have a system that's been configured for Millward Brown. This is not appropriate for Kantar. The best way of approaching this configuration and implementation phase is to start from scratch. Obviously, leaning on some of the knowledge that we have gathered from the Millward Brown experience, but we need to build the configuration from the ground up over again. So we will be coming together as a team to go through this process of configuring the system. Prior to this, you have some homework, and we're going to be updating the homework over the next few weeks so that we are well prepared for the workshop. So you'll notice that at the bottom of this page, we would like you to interview your brand leaders to identify. Hang on, what have you got here? So firstly, the first piece of homework you've got is we need to first create an inventory list of programs that will be loaded into Cornerstone. We need to have some sense of what exists today in terms of e-learning content and other resources that you feel need to be uploaded into the Cornerstone platform. So I'd like you to, and if you haven't, you may have already done this today as part of the work you've done as learning consultants. But I'd like you to complete this discovery worksheet in terms of what courses exist today, who's the intended audience, what the delivery method is, and complete as much as you can in terms of the rest. That gives us a starting point in terms of what resources need to be loaded into Cornerstone when we go live later in the year. The other piece of homework, so you've got two pieces of homework. The other piece of homework is to discuss with your brand leaders what language requirements you have for Cornerstone. As we shared before, we presently have 7 languages, and Kathy, you might want to bring up those languages again if you don't mind, just to show the list as we're talking.
Sure.
So if you, thank you, there they go. So here are the 7 languages that we have today: simplified Chinese, English, French, German, Korean, Portuguese, and Spanish, Latin American Spanish. So if there are other requirements within your brand, what are those requirements? And we, as I shared before, we can expand on these languages. Cornerstone have a full suite of language options, and we are very happy to expand on those options. So that's the 2 pieces of homework that you have. I just want to pause now and check whether people are comfortable with your assignments. Do you have any questions?
Hi, it's Helene here. Just a quick question. So looking at the things that might need to be in there. So we currently have a Skillsoft platform, and there are, I guess, some individual modules that are being created that we might want to upload. And then there are some regional or local programs that have been run, I guess, within offices that maybe we might want to upload the details of. Are you looking for stuff that is also historical? So by the time we actually implement this platform, there will have been some programs that will have run within some of our offices or in our regions. Do you want those details as well?
Okay, good question, Helene. So firstly, let's just talk on Skillsoft. So for content providers like Skillsoft, KnowledgeWorks, and so on, we have the opportunity to integrate content providers into the platform. So instead of having to go to the Skillsoft site, they can go directly to our Cornerstone site and access the same content. We will make a decision which content providers we'll integrate, because there is a fee associated with integrating any external content. We have in the past integrated Skillsoft in the Cornerstone platform successfully. The advantage of integration of external content in Skillsoft in Cornerstone is that, again, for the end user, they only have to remember one site that they need to go to access their learning. They don't have to remember multiple sites. They have one password and username, not multiple passwords and usernames. And more importantly, the learning is tracked in Cornerstone, so there's a record, a transcript of what they've done, and we can then access that transcript, or their manager can access that transcript to see how they're progressing with their learning. So lots of benefits to integrating external courseware via the Cornerstone platform. So yes, if you have external content like Skillsoft, we'd like to know about it, and then we can make a decision later on whether we're going to integrate that in the platform. With respect to your other content, so firstly, the content that we want to load in Cornerstone should be only content we're going to be offering in the future. So if it's content that's not going to be utilized again, then certainly we will not be loading it. And programs that have been delivered and executed, and there is no plan to deliver them again, so we don't want to know about those. But in terms of everything else, yes, we would like to know about it, and that includes global programs, regional programs, country programs. We just need to have some sense of how many programs are we talking about that we need to upload, because there will be a significant amount of implementation that needs to take place after the platform has been configured and is ready to go live. We need to then load these programs, test them to make sure they work, and then deploy them through the respective channels or configurations that we've set up. Does that answer your question, Helene?
Yes, I think it'll be clearer when I see the actual spreadsheet in terms of, you know, some of the detail that we need to capture, but that's great for now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Glenn, Chloe here, would you just mind clarifying, are you looking for us just to give you e-learning content, or do you want a list of all the, you talked earlier about this is going to manage all sorts of learning, whether that's online or face-to-face. So do you want a list of the face-to-face training, the offline training, or you just want the e-learning content?
Our initial need is related to the e-learning content and electronic resource, or any digital data, digital learning that you need to upload into Cornerstone, because we're looking at how we're going to plan to upload that content. Certainly, at a later date, we will need to also understand what workshops and face-to-face programs that we want to load into the system as well. So that would be the second part of the exercise, but it's not needed at this point in time. We can do that later on. But right now, we want to know how many e-learning programs exist in the company today. For example, how many videos exist today. What other digital resources exist today that need to be uploaded into this platform, because there's a significant piece of work about loading that and testing that prior to launching that.
And if there are things that we're planning to do that haven't yet been developed, do you want to know about those as well?
There's no reason why you couldn't list it and just indicate that it's a future work, a future project. That would be good to know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be overly concerned about the future work, because obviously that's going to be an ongoing thing that's going to happen. But if you're aware of something, certainly you can list it, especially if it's going to happen in the first 6 months of this year. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I had a couple of questions related to the administration. Do you want me to pick up those, or do you want to see if there are other questions about the homework?
If there's no other questions for homework, I'm happy to respond to the administration. Yeah.
Actually, there's just one other point or question from me. Bearing in mind that we're hopefully launching a manager portal in the next couple of months, what do we need to what do we need to be aware of on track now in terms of integrating that within Cornerstone?
So at this stage, we haven't had a conversation around the roadmap for the manager portal and Cornerstone, and how those two come together. So there's nothing to do at this point in time regarding the manager portal.
Okay.
But in the case of, for example, Grassroots, which is the old Kantar Leaders Place, that is being migrated into Cornerstone. That's a separate project which I'm leading with Kathy.
Okay.
Yeah. And just so you know, the cross knowledge does have an integration with Cornerstone. So if, let's say, in the second half of 2017, we want to have future users access cross knowledge through Cornerstone, that can certainly be done. And all of the history that's of all the courses, that, people had taken prior, we'll be able to capture that history and get that loaded. Cross Knowledge already has a relationship with Cornerstone.
Good. Thanks, Kathy. Okay, so let's move on in terms of what's next. So I've spoken about the negotiation of the contract. I've spoken about some homework that you've got, which is to come back to populate the spreadsheet that Kathy will share regarding content and future content, and also to confirm your language requirements for each of your brands. The next thing I want to raise with you is just to share that we need to come together as a group, and I indicated before that there are many things that need to be configured in the Cornerstone platform, and we are planning to come together next month, most likely. That's the plan. What we're trying to do right now is Ian is actually working with Nigel in aligning the people plans with the learning and leadership plans that we have for this year, and agreeing on approving those plans. And once they've been approved, then we can then start looking at how we as a team come together to agree on how we're going to execute those plans. And there's a lot of work that goes behind that, of course. Once we have those dates in place for the COE meeting, where some people will be attending that meeting, not the entire COE, we will also arrange to have the configuration workshop adjacent to that meeting. So we'll make use of the time that we are together in the one location to have the configuration meeting. So I'm anticipating that's going to happen mid-February. Ian, did you want to say anything about the travel approval for this?
No, only that it, quite frankly, is all connected together. So just as background, the focus is, our clear focus right now is getting through and coming out to the other side of the people planning and getting those priorities signed off with the CHROs and with Eric, the CEO. As we do that, then we'll be locking down on the dates when we as the COE can meet. The hesitation and the reason for not just booking it now is that we want to keep that focus on the plans, so that when we get together we have a clear set of priorities and we can refocus around activation of those plans and kind of co-creation in some areas. So that's probably going to be one of the key themes of the meeting. So that's going to be happening in the next 10 days, and as soon as we have that, we can then align the COE meeting and then this meeting as well. So the goal is, we get people to travel once and we do multiple things.
Perfect. So on that basis, consider that we'll be coming together in London. I'm assuming it's in London for at least 2 weeks. So we'll be with Ian for the first week over a number of days. And then the following week we'll come together for 3 days as a configuration workshop to discuss the Cornerstone configuration and go through all of the parameters that need to be agreed on, so that we can then hand those parameters to Cornerstone so that they can do the implementation and have the platform ready soon after, we hope. So I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere in the middle of February, so I'm hoping that you are free around the middle of February for a couple of weeks. So I wanted to give you a heads up. I know Nella will be reaching out to us after the approval of the people plans to check on availability, but I wanted to give you a heads up now to try to keep the middle of February free, because that's the time I'm targeting to hopefully have the configuration workshop. And by the way, we could have the configuration workshop the week before the COE workshop, or we could have the week after. It's just a matter of how things unfold over the next 10 days, and we'll make that call. But the flexibility is 1 week we'll have the COE workshop, 1 week we'll have the configuration workshop, and the sequence makes no difference. It will be one way or the other. Any questions on the workshop?
Not a question, but just a comment that literally I've got 8 days in February that are free. So the sooner we can lock down dates, the better, I guess.
Okay.
And it may be that I'm just not around for some of it.
Okay. Now, the other part of this is there is some learning that needs to happen prior to the configuration workshop. So walking into this workshop without any knowledge of the Cornerstone platform is not ideal. When we did this with Millward Brown, we requested, what we did was we had each of the delegates participating in the project team walk through some e-learning content that Cornerstone provide prior to the configuration workshop. So that's one way of doing it. So that gives you a knowledge of the different parameters that we need to discuss when we come together. Another way of managing this is to conduct an internal workshop, which Kathy and I were speaking about earlier today. So we might lean towards an internal workshop where we bring everyone together and discuss these parameters that way, as opposed to having you go through e-learning. But if that doesn't work, then we might have to arrange for you to participate in the Cornerstone e-learning programs beforehand. It's necessary for you to do it. If you don't do it, you won't have a clue what we're talking about in the configuration workshop, and that's just going to waste a lot of time as we explain what each parameter means. So hopefully you've got some time to complete this learning. I'm thinking the commitment is about 3 hours, whether that be through a WebEx session that we do with Kathy and Renata and Cornerstone, or whether that be through the Cornerstone e-learning programs. But either way, there is pre-work that's needed before you attend the workshop so that you understand the language that Cornerstone use in terms of their parameters. Renata, do you want to build on that at all, just in terms of the things that we need to prepare for before we come together?
No, I think having that baseline is going to be important. Certainly, as you say, Glenn, the language used in Cornerstone is its own language. It takes a little while to get your head around, and so whichever direction we take, I'm more than happy to sort of answer and support Kathy and Glenn in any way necessary, and it takes time to build your knowledge on this, but I think it is very important that everybody has some sort of background knowledge before we come into our discussions.
And there are current regional administrators. As you know, it is still a functioning, working, learning, management system. It's not as if it's not being used today, and so we still do have regional administrators. And I don't know if we want to tap them on the shoulder for that.
We do. We have Wella in Singapore, and we have myself that are currently active. We also have
Jessica.
Jessica, yeah,
from North America.
who's in North America, and Sylvina also has some good working knowledge of Cornerstone in LATAM.
So there's subject matter experts that are available, or champions as we sometimes refer to them, that are available that can also walk you through some of the elements of Cornerstone so that you understand the nuances and the language and the sorts of things that we'll be discussing together when we come together. And given that each of you had limited experience with LMSs prior to this project, it's advantageous for you to complete this learning. So we'll be in touch with you about this learning, and that will help with our workshop effectiveness. Let's jump into what we want to do now is move into just the overall project work streams. So Kathy, would you mind just sharing that project plan with the group, if you don't mind?
Are you wanting me to bring up the charter?
Yes, please, the charter. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Hold on, let me just pull that up. Actually, what I'm going into, if I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the SharePoint site, where we will be housing all of our project documentation, which I am showing you now. Everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I am going to jump into the charter.
So while Kathy's loading that, I've been talking a lot, and you're probably hearing about all these things that you need to do. I fully respect that everyone's very, very busy right now, and we invited you along to this project without giving you any upfront knowledge about the scope of the work. This is a large undertaking. There's a lot of things that need to be discussed. There's a lot of things that need to be configured. And from what you've learnt so far today, if you feel that you may not have the time to dedicate to this project, I will not be offended if you want to opt out. So just let me know, and we can certainly look out for other people to support us through this process. We reached out to you originally because we feel that you best represent the brands, of course, and that you have a good understanding of the needs of each of the brands. But I also realise that you also are doing your day job and you're very busy, and this is a extracurricular activity for you. So I will not be offended if you want to opt out, if you've got too much on your plate, and we will seek some other people to join us. So don't feel offended or don't feel bad if you just don't have the time to commit to this. It is a big project. It will require time dedicated to it, and if you can't give that to us, then it's probably better if you don't pursue it any further. So let's move into the project, so that you've got a sense of some of the things that are going on. I want to, just after that sort of monologue, I want to say to you that we're not expecting you to do everything, but I wanted to give you a sense of the full project end to end, so that you get a sense of what we're doing. So the first point in this is negotiate a new contract. So that work is happening now, as I shared with you, and we're expecting to have approval by the end of the month, January, signed, sealed, delivered, 29,000 users, and we're ready to start implementation. The next step is where you see your name, brand CHROs, bringing together the CHROs to do the configuration workshop, and to define the governance and implementation plan, confirm the languages that we've spoken about. The work that we create together, co-create together, will be taken to the steering group, which will be the COE leadership team and the CHROs to sign off before we then move into implementation. So there is another step after the work that we've done. So that's step 2, and between now and our workshop, there is an expectation that you'll undertake some analysis of the current content, understand the language needs, and then once you've done the training, you'll need to then go back to the brands and explore other configuration options, which I won't tell you about yet, but later on that will happen. I'm going to skip the next piece on translators because we'll speak to that later on, because everything that let me just talk to that for a moment. Everything that we create in English in the platform, we need to create in other languages. So we will have to translate some of the content. When you, for example, if we label something different to the Cornerstone label, then we will need to update. We will need to translate that so that when the languages are chosen, different languages are chosen, the new name is reflected in the respective language. Likewise, if we have a course description template that we load into the system, and we say, for example, we choose Russian as our language, that needs to be translated. That course description needs to be translated into Russian, so it presents in Russian. So there's some translations that will happen later on, but we will be using in-house translators, not this team. There's one thing to configure the system, but then, when we operationalize the system, we need to have a support model and structure in place. So, what happens when something goes wrong, where an end user cannot access the system or has problems with the system? How are they supported? And we'll be working through defining a new support structure for this system globally, and Kathy will be leading that work. We will have some infrastructure support through the IBM ticketing service, but IBM will not support Cornerstone. They'll only offer their facility to capture requests, and those requests then will be sent to someone that we nominate as the support team. So there's work to be done in terms of identifying the support requirements for this product. I mentioned before that people can access this system from their home, from their mobile device. And if you want that to happen, you need to offer a domain name or a URL, and we will have to set up a URL and domain name so that whatever we call this system, and it probably will not be called LearningWorks, that was the old Millward Brown name, but it might be called something else. We'll have a brainstorming activity around that. We need to then purchase the domain name and set that up. If there's a support request, they'll have to have a support email that needs to be set up, and the data feed that runs between Kantar Connect and Cornerstone, because of the change, also needs to be reconfigured. We're going to have a great time redoing the user interface. So the user interface you saw before is the old Millward Brown user interface, but we want to have a swanky Kantar interface and with new branding and give it a positive user experience. Ian recently went to the Cornerstone roadshow or event or whatever it was called, and saw some really wonderful interfaces, and so he'll provide some ideas about what Cornerstone can do, and certainly Cornerstone will provide us with some examples as well. So that's going to be a fun exercise. Of course, we're going to do a configuration work. We're going to do all of this other work, but then we also have to prepare the launch and the communication to all staff and the training to managers, line managers, and learners, how they use the system. So there's an element of learning that goes with this launch. Next page. If we're going to integrate external courseware, whether it be Cross-Knowledge, Skillsoft, or the Korn Ferry Competency Framework, by the way, Korn Ferry can be integrated with the Cornerstone platform, so all the competencies in the Korn Ferry model can be loaded in Cornerstone, and they can be mapped to learning programs. So a person can go in there and say, I want to look at a program that helps me drive business results. They would find the programs associated with that, for example, and any other Korn Ferry competency. So the integration of that. We're going to collect an inventory of internal courses from you, and we're going to also review all the existing courseware, and some of those courses may be retired, some of those courses may need to be updated, and certainly many of the courses need to be rebranded with the new Kantar logos. So putting together a plan of how we manage all our content is another piece of work. There is going to be a project that speaks to the learning metrics and reports that we want, because again, Cornerstone is very flexible. We can have lots of different reports, and we need to agree on what reports would be beneficial and value adding to the business and impactful, and also agree on what would be beneficial to our managers and our end users. There is an overhaul to the email administration settings, because there is a lot of email traffic that's generated by Cornerstone, so that needs to be reviewed. All the templates that go with learning, so the invitation to a course, the course description, a certificate after you've completed the course saying you've successfully achieved the learning outcomes, all of that content needs to be created and loaded into Cornerstone. So another project related to that. The governance model and authorization. So who can make changes in Cornerstone? Who can't make changes? Who has the authority to access the administration area? Who has the authority to access the courseware? So we need to come up with the governance model and authorizations. For each of the brands, and this is a piece of work that you would certainly be doing, what learning portfolios will be available for each brand? What will people see? Will scale? Will it be a open registration for all courses? Will they see everything, or will people with scale 90 and above see certain courses, and scale levels 60 to 80 see other courses, and scale levels 50 and below see other courses? Or will client services staff see one course and finance see another course? It's those sorts of choices that we need to make in the configuration workshop. And when we get to the stage when we've done all this great work and we're ready to go live, we need to test it. Someone needs to go in there and try to make it fail and break it and see what happens. So there's a testing process. standard operating procedures about how the system is going to be managed. And then finally, this is a project, and certainly Kathy and I are not going to own this project forever. We want to hand it over and move on to our next project. And so I've got GBS here, that's the old days. So we're going to hand it over, and there's going to be different owners for different elements of Cornerstone, and we'll be handing that over and moving on. So as you can see, there's lots of different elements to this workflow, and that's why it's going to take a few months to complete. It is a large project. Of course, there's not enough time to sort of go through those pieces in detail, but do you have any immediate questions for what I've shared just now?
We lost him, Glenn. Only I get to fall asleep. Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, guys. It was another long monologue.
There was a lot to absorb there, for sure.
What's the kind of projected timeline for getting all of this done?
Under normal circumstances, this would take 3 to 4 months to complete.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we start in February, we're looking at, earliest would be June, July, to be honest. Yeah.
So do we have a launch date in mind?
We have no launch date in mind. I think that will be assessed when we come together, and we will, because the different work streams I shared with you there, we've only now formed this work stream. I haven't formed the other work streams yet. We need to form those. And then, of course, the project doesn't have to be done sequentially. Those things can be happening concurrently. And so we could choose to accelerate this project and try to target a 2-month turnaround or a 3-month turnaround. But that's a decision we'll make later on. At this stage, I would say it's erring on the 3 to 4 month turnaround time.
Keep in mind too, even though things are going to be working concurrently, there are some contingencies. We have to make sure there are certain things in place before we launch. We have to make sure that the support model is in place and that people can support our end users when we launch. We are going to be reliant on a couple of other groups, like I said, making sure we inform IBM that people know that if they are trying to launch an application, regardless of the application, that if they're having any issues, they're going to go to the ServiceNow application to report that issue and to log a ticket. And we need to make sure IBM's aware of that and what they're supposed to do when they get that ticket. And then if that ticket needs to be escalated up to a regional Cornerstone support person, we have to make sure they're trained and ready to handle that. We're going to be working closely with our Cornerstone implementation manager. They're going to be a key resource for this project, and that includes any user interfaces that we might decide we want to redo, and that's where our Cornerstone resource will come in to help us build that user interface and help us with the design portion of it. So there are some things that will be contingent on outside resources that will be key to making sure that the launch goes smoothly.
I think thanks, Kathy. I think they're all very valuable points. I think the good thing is that in the project team we have 3 members who have done this already within the Kantar environment, and that will certainly help us in a big way. So, and as Kathy mentioned and Renata mentioned before, we are not starting from ground zero. We have got a few people out there that know the platform. So again, those subject matter experts will be called upon at different times. So there are some advantages this time round compared to the first time we did it, and that will help in expediting this implementation overall. So with that, I think I've almost exhausted the full time. I think that the next steps from here, Kathy will socialise the document that you shared with you earlier, and give you access to the SharePoint site. We'll be coming back to you with some information around the learning that we're going to provide prior to the workshop. And of course, once we get notice of when the COE workshop is going to happen, we'll give you a heads up when the configuration workshop will be taking place, which will happen either the week before or the week after the COE workshop. So with that, there's 1 minute left if there's any sort of pressing questions that you have before we close this meeting.
Just one quick question, I think. In terms of the admin, does it record the cost of training so that we could report, sort of, say, by country on the or by brand on what we spent on training?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Great. Thank you.
So you can put in the cost of training for each program, and then it will give you that outcome. Yep.
And just quick, just makes me think also, is there going to be any cost to the brands, or is this all going to be funded internally, centrally?
So the funding is going to be all done centrally. So at the moment, the funding, there's existing contracts in place that are being picked up by IT, and the difference between the current contracts we have and the new contract is going to be picked up by the COE. Ian, is that going to be recharged to the brands, or are we going to hold it within the centre?
It all links back to the amount of funding that essentially gets centralised out of all of the budgets. So when you think about all of the major initiatives, the developments that are going to go on, there's going to be a slice of budget that will move to the centre. This will be part of that. So it's not separate to, it's all integrated together.
Thank you.
And should you have further questions, if it's a question more specific to the application itself, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. If you have questions with regards to the workshop or anything else, definitely include Glenn. And just want to make sure that you understand this. This is, we're all on this awesome team, and I can't say enough how excited I am. So even at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, I just in closing, I'm very excited. This is going to be a fun project. It's exciting. And if there's any questions between now and the next time we get together, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will be sending out invitations to access the application as it exists today. And I'll even be assigning you guys some training just so you can see how the player works and how the courses launch, so you're familiar with that. And I think that's about it. Ian, do you have any closing comments?
No, just to say, delighted that this is kicking off. An awful lot to do, but we need to be aggressive about how we go at it, but make sure we deliver the right experience to the end user. And Kathy, just to also add that we're also delighted and excited that you're part of the team. More announcements to come, and glad that you're here and helping us drive through this work.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it. There's a glass of red waiting for me here, and I'm going to sign off.
I always hate that comment.
I was going to say, if I said it, there should probably be some people worried about this project.
So it's good night from me, and it's good night from her, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.